Welcome back to the Keep Going podcast with Vin Kennedy. I'm your host, Vin Kennedy. Today we have a special guest. This is Marv. Marv, you want to do a brief intro on yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Marv. I went to high school with Vin, so that's cool. I'm a doctor of physical therapy and exercise enthusiast, and I've been teaching group fitness for over 10 years now. So I just want to get the most people moving.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then we were talking about it before we hopped on, but yeah, becoming a doctor. I mean, it's no small feat. That's awesome. Do you want to kind of like dive into that and what that whole journey was like?
Yeah, I mean, it started in high school because I got hurt in high school and I thought that I would be a professional ballerina. I was like leaving school early to go dance, and then I had couple injuries consecutively, which ended my dance career. And then I had to go to physical therapy. And I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. And then I didn't realize how hard it was to get into physical therapy school, but I knew I wanted it. And I picked my undergrad that would set me up to be able to go get my doctorate after. So I went to Monmouth for my health studies to have all the classes I needed to apply to grad school, and I took a gap year to save some money because it's expensive. And then I went to Kane for my doctorate. It was definitely the hardest thing I ever probably willingly like put myself
Yeah,
through. But I'm lucky I met an amazing group of people, and uh it's a pretty tough program to get into anywhere in the country, but especially in New Jersey. So, you get really, really close with your classmates. And I think just having like a supportive group with everyone, which made us all really successful.
yeah, no, absolutely. How many years of schooling was that?
So you need your bachelor's, and it doesn't really matter what you get your bachelor's in. You just need the prerequisites to apply. And then it's a 3-year doctorate, 9 trimesters. Yeah.
That's awesome though. But it
Yeah.
is a great profession, like you said, and I feel like anytime I've ever gotten hurt, just being in that atmosphere, it seems like a great place to work.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really fun. I say it every single day. I love what I do, and I'm so lucky. I kind of mentioned to you before that I'm kind of studying for this big neuro specialty because if anyone asked me if I was gonna what my specialty would be, I never would have said neuro. So I think that's important to know because you just got to keep an open mind. I know I help a lot of people kind of get into PT programs because I do teach at a couple programs. Um, and I say, just keep your minds open. If someone told me I was going to be a neuro specialist, I would have laughed at them.
Yeah.
But the good thing about this career is you can kind of go any direction you want. There's so many little niches and stuff. So that's like a really cool part of it too.
That's awesome. And I've seen just through social media that you kind of it's more than just like PT, right? For you, like it's fitness as a whole. And I know you incorporate yoga. If you kind of want to touch on those things.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, my dream, right, is to have my own place one day. Um, but it's not the timing for me right now, but the goal is to have a whole compassing wellness center, which includes preventative care. So to me, that is like just having someone live the healthiest life they can live through exercise, and if they need help through nutrition and stuff like that, that's awesome too. But I also really strongly believe in mental health and having a strong healthy mental health aspect too. So I definitely incorporate, like I always refer to psychology and stuff. Um, so my approach, I would say, is very different than a standard physical therapist, but I also work with the neuro population. So sometimes I see these people for years. It's not like an ankle that you just come in, you fix it, and you're out. Even for that, though, I see people post-op, and I still encourage them to find something that they like that they will be able to keep going after, because I hear all the time they graduate physical therapy and they're like, well, I don't do it just because, I'm not here. And so
Right.
if I can find them and it seems to be better in a group setting, like have this atmosphere to keep doing, keep getting stronger, they're at least able to maintain that level that they gained in therapy for longer. I'm super passionate about yoga because it's really non-impact, and I think it's safe for the majority of the general public. So that's kind of how I went into that. I mean, I've had 5 knee surgeries, so I was like, I need something that's like a little less impact for me right now, and I just believe so strongly in it because I do believe it can be for everyone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And yoga obviously is more, of course, aligned with what you said. Like it's more mental as well. Like it's not just, of
Totally.
course, it's physical, and you can make it as demanding as you want. I do hot yoga occasionally myself, and it's you can make it very difficult. Um, but something you said that I think is huge and kind of overlooked, just as in the again, I'm not in the medical profession at all, but in the medical profession is that like preventative stuff, right? So I feel like everything's after the fact. You know what I mean? Everybody hops on medication to just kind of delay whatever is going on rather than
Right.
prevent. And it's so important to kind of get ahead of the curve. And like you said, so you help people find healthy alternatives just to start and just lead a healthier life.
Yeah, I definitely am huge about preventative, and there's like, if you really go into it, there's really three levels to preventive care of any disease. So I believe, obviously start with like primary prevention is like don't get hurt, don't get an
Right.
illness or anything, but obviously that's not the case for everything. But you can still kind of like reduce the side effects and stuff like that depending where they are in their injury or disease. But I think that's the biggest problem with Western medicine. I think they look at us like a machine, and you can go to orthopedic and they're like, I only do ankles. And they're like, well, I'm here to your ankle, I don't really care about your knee. And I've had that in my own personal experience as a patient, so I really really try to treat my patients as a whole, mind and body, because a lot of pain, especially chronic pain, has a huge psycho component to it. um, so yeah, I do try to prevent, and if I see someone going down that path of having chronic pain, I really try to prevent that dialogue, because I do think just medicine in general, and some providers more than others, they almost like create that dialogue for chronic pain. They say, oh, if you lift something off the ground, you're going to throw your back out. No, that's not true. If you
Right.
do it correctly, you should be doing that. You should get stronger. So I think it's kind of how we educate our patients. Like they trust us. So it's important that we give them the accurate knowledge and not have this like fear avoidance of doing anything. Our bodies are strong. We are strong people, like we're resilient, and I think that's like gets lost in Western medicine.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And it's funny because it's just like I feel like a lot of things are just like, oh, well, I hear from a lot of people like, oh, wait till you just get older, like that things are just going to break down. It's like doesn't have to be that way, but yeah, we do tend to treat it that way. So with the knee surgeries, like how did you kind of combat that? Because I know myself, I'll roll an ankle and like I want to like punch holes in the wall because I'm gonna miss runs and miss lifts and whatever. I'm one of the crazy people that like if I hurt something on my lower body, I'll still lift upper body and vice
Yeah.
versa. So like I'm always doing something, but I know it's kind of like hard and especially you could lose like your identity as an athlete. Like how did you kind of combat that?
Yeah, I think like growing up my whole life, my identity was being a ballerina. So I think the whole identity crisis when I got hurt. I mean, first time people get hurt, but I unfortunately kept getting hurt of the same thing. Like I kept tearing my ACL. And so eventually you can't be a professional athlete when you have, that many. And unfortunately I'm in the dance world, right? It all cares about what you look like. And I was so afraid to lose my edge when I was out surgery and recovery, and you have to look a certain type, that I actually developed a pretty severe eating disorder. And I talk to a lot of young girls about it because it's almost promoted in the dance world, which is like horrible. um and I never ever ever talk about looks with my any of my clients, because it should be about how you feel and not how you look. That's like a big thing of mine. If it's up to me, I wouldn't even have mirrors in the gym, because it's about how you feel and how you look. Um, but I think it's been a journey to get over these injuries. Definitely. I mean, it's something I'm probably gonna live with forever. But I think my old mindset, and kind of like what you said, like I was going like, okay, I was like in a cast still doing upper body. And I think my mind has shifted, that like you got to give yourself grace. Like if you're injured, your body's telling you, let's chill for a little bit. And I think I grew, and I try to teach my clients that, it's okay. You will come back. Our bodies are so resilient that if you're already in great shape, even if you have to take a month off from exercise or something, you will get back, and probably stronger, if you give yourself that time to heal. And most people heal more slowly because they kind of do what we want to do. We just want to keep going, going, going. And then any injury isn't really one thing. It's like the hay that breaks the camel's back. So like if you're like kind of hurt and you keep going, 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 then you're gonna really get hurt.
Right.
So I think personally I've come a long, long way with that mentally, but I think it is important to I tell my clients all the time, like every life happens. You can't be perfect every day. You can't do your homework, your exercises. It's okay. We'll still get you where you want to be. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And obviously you touched on the eating disorder, and I think it's something that it seems to be prevalent amongst women, but I think it's so common amongst men, especially the deeper you dive into fitness and nutrition, the more you know almost hurts you. And I found myself in in spots where I initially went from I think in 2014 I was 250 pounds, and I dropped like 80 to 90 pounds in like 7 months, which is just not how fast
Right.
that should go. And it was, just a crash course diet, running 5 miles a day when I was able to actually build up to that mileage. And it's not sustainable, and it's not a way of life. And I think, yeah, it's so easy to get caught up in the physical, what you look like. And for me, once I made that switch of oh no, I feel good. Like I mentally feel good. This is I don't look at working out as like a chore. It's therapy for me. And when you can make those changes. But how did you kind of combat that? And just what was the journey like, even just, the initial stages of the eating disorder, and then where did it develop?
Yeah. So I can tell you, like, I had like the dance culture is pretty tough. I always say if I have a daughter, I hope they don't want to dance because it's tough. And I mean, most of my friends, because I was on the professional route, most of them had some sort of eating disorder because they kind of push it on you. And, looking back, the crazy part is like when I was there, I was always skinny, like, and that back then
Right.
they really convince you that you're fat, and then you start to see it. And then I mean, I was really sick. Like I always say, thank you to my mom because she saved my life. She made me get counseling. She made me go, I had to get a nutritionist and everything. Even I always say, like, I am educated. I know a lot about nutrition, exercise, everything, but it's also very hard to be objective to yourself. And I recognize that. So I still go to I take classes, like group classes for myself. I go to a nutritionist, I go to a therapist, like I know what to do, but it's hard to be objective for yourself. So I always encourage people to like still get help, do what you need because even if you know what to do, it doesn't mean you're doing it to yourself. And I definitely am a component of that. I mean, my weight it's been on a journey the last like 10 years. And I kind of, was like, well, I can't count my calories anymore. I'm not allowed to or whatever. And I kind of did gain more weight than I like wanted to. And obviously I wasn't happy with what I looked like. And I would say like right now, I'm the healthiest in terms of like weight, how I'm eating, and how I'm even like my self thoughts to myself about what I look like and everything is the healthiest. And it's something I'll always struggle with. I don't think I'll ever be happy with what I look like, but I know I'm healthy. And if I can share my struggles and help someone, I will always, always do that because I mean, once you have an eating disorder, it's something you'll have for the rest of your life. And I really don't wish this on anyone because my life will always revolve around food.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, absolutely. It's like an addiction, and I feel like we all have them in some capacity. And like I said, even I posted on my story today. I just did 75 hard phase one. I don't know if you're familiar.
Yeah.
So I was in a deficit, so I was just shutting down. And then obviously the summer's coming up, and I tend to do that. And also in a marathon prep, so running a lot of miles. It's the whole
Yeah.
thing. But with that, I'll even notice myself. I'm like, oh, I woke up this morning and I was I'm light for how my weight usually fluctuates. And even I'm like, oh, I've been leaner. And it's like, but why do we talk to ourselves like that? It's crazy, but it's so easy to do. And I really think that men will benefit from this more than women, just because I feel like it's a little more pronounced in the female population.
No, I agree. I think I would say it's probably like even, but
Yeah.
women are just more willing to talk about it.
Right.
And now that this like I think a lot of it's like social media and now like being thick is like good. So I
Right.
think like that kind of helps women a little bit, be okay with it. But like, yeah, men have just as much body dysmorphia as women, totally. Like they're supposed to, media would say you're supposed to have a six pack. Like, no, like so every body's made differently. So it depends. Like some people just get more muscle than others, and that's okay, you
No,
know.
absolutely. And what would you say something that you kind of like did to build? It sounds like you have like a great sense now as far as like just overall health, and that is obviously the most important. Um, and what did you kind of do? It sounds like your mom was a big advocate, but what did you personally do to kind of like cultivate that and like a loving relationship with yourself?
Yeah. So it's a work in progress. I say that every day. I work on it. And I think like my therapist mind, like every patient we set goals for. So I try to set goals for myself too, especially like, New Year's resolution. Things a little cliche, but I use it to kind of see where I've come mentally, physically in the last year and like what do I want to achieve the next year. And actually my biggest one for 2023 is more like self-love. Like I was like, I can give so much love to all my clients, but like I've learned 2022 taught me you can't what is it? You can't pour from an empty glass. So if I don't take care of myself, then I can't help people. I really believe I'm meant to be on this earth to help people. But if I'm not healthy, then how can I help anyone? And I say it all the time because I can see some of my patients struggling. I go to therapy. I'm very like open saying that I need therapy. I struggle mentally still. And I think like it's one of those things you do, but I think therapy still has a bad stigma. But like, why not have a third party that isn't biased that can give you advice and help you talk through things? And it's HIPAA; they can't say anything to anyone, so you're protected, and you can like say the things that maybe you wouldn't want to say to your friends or family. So I'm definitely a big advocate for therapy. I think we all need it, and
Yeah,
that's kind of also how I got into yoga because I think in therapy, they teach you meditation, mindfulness, and that's all connected to yoga.
yeah, absolutely. And you touched on something earlier saying like your mom saved your life. If you kind of want to just go deeper into that.
Yeah, I think like especially when you're like heavy deep into like an eating disorder, like I was totally in denial. I was like, "What do you mean? Like I had a couple almonds today. Like I'm fine." And she was able to kind of be that person to me, and I was very mad at her for it at the time. Um, but she was able to be that person for me and to kind of be like, no, like this is not healthy. You can't live like this. If you wanna, go be a doctor, you're not gonna make it through school. You're not eating. I was really sick. I was like passing out and everything. So, you know, um, if she I would say if she wasn't the one that was the bad cop, because I was not happy with her at the time, I probably would have just kept going, and who knows how sick I would have been. I tell my mom all the time, she saved my life. And although, when you're a teenager, you can be a brat to your mom, and I wasn't very happy with her, but she forced me to therapy, which is like, I needed it at the time. And I had to go to nutritionist, and then, I had a whole team effort. But she really, because I live with her, she helped me well, she was kind of like my accountability partner, like to make sure I was actually eating and not lying to myself. Because I didn't realize at the time how much I was even lying to myself about what I was eating.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you talked about like having grace earlier, and you even mentioned like it's so much easier to have love for other people and kind of sympathy for other people. And what are some tips that you would give other people that are either battling an eating disorder or just kind of like beating themselves up in their head about their image of their own body?
Yeah, I just say like we're all human, like we're all beautiful. Like, like we always say, oh, I wish I could look like, this person, or I wish I could look like this person. Like we're not made to look like that person. Like you being an individual is what makes you beautiful. Men and women, like we're all made differently. Our hormones are all different. It's impossible for two people, even if they're twins, to have the exact same body. So if I think if you, I'm a scientist by nature, so if you can like really like objectively say like it's impossible for us all to be perfect all the time or look how you want to look all the time, that it allows ourselves to, we are the superior species because we have our mind. So if you can recognize that, you know, not every day is going to be perfect. It's okay to have the cookie, you know. It's not going to ruin your diet. It's not going to make you gain weight. If you're feeling pain is meant to it's a warning sign for our body. So if you're in pain, like you should take a day off from exercising. It's something I have to remind myself of too. But, you know, it's our bodies are made to protect us. So it's okay. It's if you're in shape and you live a healthy lifestyle, it's really hard to go like that out of shape that quick. And I think that's something people don't realize. Like, because you think, oh, I worked so hard to get to here. It's not going to take that long if you take a day off. It's okay, you know?
Yeah, it's so true. I have a buddy that is a pro bodybuilder, and he always used to say that to me because I would get in these funks where it was like extreme discipline for an extreme amount of time, and then like I wouldn't even beat myself up over it, but it was just like eh, almost like banking all of these days of eating perfect for what though? Because then you're kind of missing out on life. And he always told me, he's like, you can't get fat in one day and you can't get shredded in one day. Like I promise, just like you said, like eat the cookie, have the meal, and then just something I do is I occasionally not as much frequently, but I will find myself just binge eating. And I personally, when it comes to real food, I'm weird. Like my sister thinks I'm weird. Like I like vegetables. I like fruit. I love grilled chicken. Like that's
Yeah.
what I would pick, even if I could have, not always, but sometimes, even if I could have the pizza, I'd rather have like buffalo chicken wrap, which isn't even that bad for you. Um, luckily I get lucky with that. But when it comes to desserts, I have the biggest sweet tooth. So occasionally, these foods are manipulated and made so that we are almost addicted to them. So occasionally, like I'll get Oreos and I'll look up and the container's gone, and I'm just like, how did that happen? But
Yeah.
I used to like really beat myself up over it, and I kind of am in a place now where like, listen, am I thrilled? No. And sometimes, in the morning you wake up a little groggy, you don't feel as great, but you just fall back into your routine. And like you said, if you're leading a healthy lifestyle, every once in a while, like, you have to enjoy yourself.
Yeah. Well, I think like what you just said, like the next day you might feel a little groggy. I think people should more focus on that, you
Right.
know? Like it's like, you know, I feel better when I eat clean. Like my mind's clearer, I'm less bloated, I just feel better. So I focus more on that than saying like, you know, well, I'm doing it just because that's what we're supposed to do. No, I feel better
Right.
when I eat clean.
Yeah. And that goes, I think that just goes back to overall health, right? Like knowing your body, knowing your mind. And I'm the same way. And even I just had my second marathon, and like
Yeah.
it was the holiday season. So I enjoyed myself. I wasn't going to go
Right.
nuts. Like I was running, I don't know, 40, 50 miles a week. So I was like, listen, if I want some extra cookies here and there, I'm going to do it. And I went into the marathon like heavier, quote unquote, for like how I personally like to feel when I'm running, just because I know how my joints and stuff will feel. But
Yeah.
again, it doesn't go back to beating myself up over what I ate. It's more of like I could have performed a little better, or I just know like now I'm, adding a little weight to my joints where I could cause an injury. That's more of the concern rather than
Sure.
the
Yeah.
food itself. Yeah,
Yeah, totally. I'm with you. But I say, like, life happens, like, enjoy life because if you're too disciplined, then, like, what are you doing it for? Because we all are going to age and we're not going to be able to maintain this forever. So you still got to enjoy life. And, you know, I always tell people if your body's craving something, in terms of movement or food, really, your body probably needs it. So, you know, if you're craving sugar, your body probably needs it. It's not that bad. It's not a bad thing, you know?
no, absolutely. Yeah. It's funny because this has been like rattling in my mind for like a couple weeks now, but like I really always looked at it like, what are you banking like all of those days of perfect eating for? Like, so yeah, it really is. You gotta kind of find a middle ground or your own sense of balance and focus on overall health rather than a look.
And to tie that in a little bit to like mental health, because I got like really sick this summer, and before that, I was a workaholic. And I'm like, it kind of that shifted my whole mindset in so many different ways. But I'm like, why am I work? I'm not even enjoying life. Like, why am I working this much if I can't even enjoy life? So it's all about like even your mental health. I feel like, you know, our generation, it's a tough time right now. You know, everything's so expensive. We all like loans, mortgages, as you know, right? Everything is like it's kind of crazy, but you know, if all you do is work, exercise, eat clean, then like it's fun, you know?
Yeah. No, absolutely. It really is. And it's kind of like like almost like a pick your poison, right? Because then you have the other side that don't exercise and going out every weekend, and it's like you're not helping yourself either. So it is,
Right.
you really, everybody kind of needs that middle ground and that balance, which is so hard to kind of actually
Mhm.
cultivate.
Right. And I think it's gonna through stages of our life and even through the year, it's gonna change like what we prioritize and what we value. And I think accepting that what maybe, in the early 20s, what you prioritize is going to be different in your later 20s, but like that's okay. We just have to accept that like we got to evolve as our body and mind evolves.
No, absolutely. And I've seen that firsthand myself because even from like 18 to like 24 was just like a party phase. And now I'm just like, I'm in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock. And it's by choice. And
Yeah.
it's just, but it's funny the way we do evolve.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing though. I mean, I'm in bed early. Sleep is the most important thing you need. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any like last like tips or things that you kind of just really want to put out there to like help people or make people more aware of?
um, like such a little bit. Like I got like really sick this summer. Like I was in the hospital and basically I was complaining about this pain for over a year and every doctor would dismiss me. They're like, "Oh, you're too young, you're healthy." Because I look healthy, right? So they're like, "No, you're fine." And then they really convinced me that the pain was in my head. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like maybe my brain just convincing me that I'm in pain." But it took to me like it got so bad that I went into full septic shock that it took it for them to take me seriously in the hospital. And what I tell all my patients, I tell my patients too, I'm not the therapist for everyone. And if I'm not, you should find a therapist that's the right for you. And I think just kind of going along that is like you need to advocate for yourself. If you know something in your mind and body's off, like advocate for yourself. The health system's tough, but like don't give up and find a provider that will help you. Even if it's it doesn't have to be medical. If it's a personal trainer, if it's a health coach, if it's a nutritionist, you will find one that works for you. And the same one isn't going to work for everyone, but know your body and advocate for yourself and stand up when you know something's wrong.
No, absolutely. And like you said, we're all individuals. So of course
Mhm.
there is no like cookie cutter plan that could benefit and help everybody. We're so different.
Right. Yeah, totally. So I
Absolutely.
I always I say I wake up every day and say two things. You can't pour from an empty glass because I learned that the hard way. And I really do try to be the provider that I didn't have for myself.
Yeah.
Like you need to advocate for yourself. And now I'm that person that will advocate for all my clients.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I live by like a similar motto where it's just like be the leader that you needed.
Yeah, totally. I love
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
So
And what
and
you need
last
at different, yeah, go ahead.
no, you go.
I was like in what you need, it just I think like the ability to change and to adapt is what makes us human. So like the leader you needed, I don't know, 5 years ago is different than the leader you need now. So it's okay for us to change. And I think our society makes it so hard for us to change, especially in the health field. It's like I hate the word diet. You shouldn't be on a diet. You should just try to live a healthy lifestyle and move. Our body's meant to move. And the way you move, the way you eat might change. It will change over time. Our bodies aren't made to do everything for 80 years. Um, but like we have to accept that it's okay. You can still move, but it might just be differently.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And something I say too, and you just touched on it, where diet has an end goal. And I think, like you said, people should really just focus on a healthier life overall. Absolutely.
Totally. Yeah.
And the last question I always end it on is, what keeps you going? It's like, what's your deep why?
I think I really do believe like I'm a yogi, so I'm like spiritual too, and I really believe that like I'm meant to be on the earth right now to help people. And I do take what I do very seriously. I know I'm good at it, and I when I can help someone, that's all I need. If I can actually make a big difference, that's what keeps me going. Personally, it keeps me going because I believe I'll never make a client do anything I won't do. So I got to lead by example. And if I can help someone in their life, I can be that provider for them. That's like all I need. It's the best feeling in the world.
It really is. I totally agree. It's so rewarding, and it's so nice to have like even the smallest impact on someone just to, in a positive way.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
It
I'm
doesn't
really,
take
really
much to be nice to people.
no, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's true.
Yeah.
But I really, really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing your story, and
Yeah.
it's definitely gonna help people.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.